Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Wealth Building Project podcast. I'm your host, Markel Blunt, and I have a treat for you today. One of my good friends who is in the M&A space that I had an opportunity to meet a few years back, and really excited to share her story and with you guys out here today with the Wealth Building Project podcast. I want to introduce you to Nancy Mills, hailing out of Houston, Texas. And again, as I mentioned, helping out entrepreneurs in the pursuit of wealth creation. Welcome to the Wealth Building Project podcast, Nancy. How you doing?
Thank you, Markel. It's such a pleasure to be here.
Oh, it's so fun to have you. We've had multiple conversations over the last few years in regards to M&A. I know we had an opportunity to meet back in 2019 at an M&A conference, and we had different pursuits there. But why don't you share with the audience a little bit, just a little bit about your background, just at a high level, and get into what we're doing now, and we'll start from there.
Sure, Markel. And thanks again for the opportunity to be here with you and your audience. I'm from the Houston, Texas area. My father worked for NASA. I went to business school at Thunderbird School of Global Management in Arizona, studied European business environment and international marketing. And I lived in Europe for 5 years after that. I did strategic innovation consulting across Northern Europe for 5 years. And then I came back into the US. I was in market research for
Hmm.
7 years in the consumer products. And then I worked at an advertising agency and another management consulting firm. And about 5 years ago, right when I met you, I was thinking I'm kind of tired of being just an employee and using just a small skill set for marketing or research. I'd rather see what I can do on a bigger scale with
Hmm.
business. And that's how I've come in this journey. I was a small business investor. I turned around a couple of companies that I acquired a part of. And lately I've been in consulting with exit strategy that I'm happy to talk about.
Oh, perfect. I love that. And to your point, I when I was looking into this, I have my background being in business development and technology. I've done stuff in real estate, but similar, I wanted to do something big. I wanted to do something. So I found the mergers and acquisition space exciting. It was always like building blocks to me, like being a kid again. Like, oh, let's do a roll-up strategy, and it all sounded great. It all sounded like easy, much easier than it was, of course,
Yeah.
right? And so, as you've had an opportunity to go in and turn businesses around. How did that experience go for you? What were some of the lessons that you learned by going in and turning around a company?
Such a good question. I learned more than I could say in this time that we've got, but the overarching lesson is echoing what you just said, Markel. It's not easy. It is not easy to run a business, especially coming in as an outsider. Of course, the advantages are the outsider's point of view and seeing things that an owner that's been in the business for years has built it up can't see because they're too much in the weeds of it. So the outside perspective is very helpful, but trying to actually manage all aspects of a business and make it run better, it is really not for sissies. And so I learned that I'm really good at some things, and other things are still a mystery to me, and I need to work on. And so I've learned the value of having really good advisors or service providers that are niche in specializations
Hmm.
that we're not good at. Nobody can be good at everything,
Right.
and that's a really good thing to learn.
No, that's important.
Easy, yeah. And the other thing is it's easy, relatively easy to get a business and to acquire a business, but it's a whole other thing to run it well and to make it better than it was before you came in. And I've noticed a little bit of arrogance out there with some people, or maybe a little bit of naivete, like I had, like, okay, let's do it. And once you do it, what now?
Yeah.
And how to sustain that. You can have some wins, but how do you sustain the wins? And so that's part of the learning process.
Yeah, I know that, when we talk about the pursuit of wealth, and many people, there are folks we know that are, working everyday jobs that, we get target marketed to on a daily basis on, how to create wealth, and, how do we, either start a business or do something, change my career. And what I found is, we've had conversations in the past about, just some of the different models out there, folks that are, I guess the gurus that are teaching people how to go out and acquire a business. And I always, I never like to tell anybody what they can't do. But if you're a school teacher and that's been your career and you decide you want to buy a construction company, it's a little bit difficult to do that, right? Without working for those organizations, without having a very good team or partnering with somebody who actually has that experience. Um,
Yes.
when you look at your transition from sort of business acquiring and looking at opportunities and looking at deals over to the consulting side, talk to us a little bit about that transition. Like, what was the exciting piece for you to make that transition?
Right. So it was really just following opportunities where they led. I'd like to tell you that I'm a master planner of my life, but really I just keep my eyes and my mind open and see what comes along. So let's just nip that in the bud right away. But yeah, I have taken my perspective and my learning up to this point, and even though I was working with small businesses earlier,
Hmm.
I realized that the mid-sized businesses, which I would say is over 5 million in revenue, ideally 10 million in revenue. It's a whole new playing field. It's intriguing. So in smaller businesses, a lot of it is about personality, and they're dominated by the personality of the founder or the person that's running it.
Okay.
And that's a whole nother set of problems to deal with, and sometimes that founder and owner is not really open to doing things in a new way. But when they've reached a certain level, like that mid-size of the smaller companies, then it's a set of problems that I actually enjoy a lot, which is systems and processes, scaling, and so in that case, I'm not interested in owning the company. I'm interested in steering it and helping that founder or owner or the person that's running it to reach more freedom,
Yeah.
because usually they're still too tied to the business. And that really, I think, relates to the topic of your podcast, the wealth building project, because we can be rich by if we own a company. We can have a lot of money coming in if we're doing it right and we have the cash flow. But wealth is a self-generating aspect of riches, right? I bet you
Mhm.
can really speak to that. So wealth from a business is going to come when it doesn't depend on the owner anymore.
Mm.
And that's what I'm focused on right now, is helping more businesses get to that stage to where the owner is free to do what they want. Sure, they can work till they drop. Most people that I talk to want to do that. They love what they do, but it should be a choice. It shouldn't be necessary.
Yeah. There's a term that in our circles that we hear a lot, the silver tsunami. Can you
Yes.
explain what to our listeners, what does that mean to you and the opportunities that are created for folks out there who are looking at business acquisition?
Yeah, silver tsunami is a fun phrase to say, kind of rolls off the tongue, alliteration. And it refers to the aging population. Actually, it's a global phenomenon where the average age of every population, I believe, in every country is really getting higher and higher. And that means that the silver hairs are the majority. And the business owners are getting older and they can't work forever. Nobody can live forever. So the tsunami refers to this giant wave of businesses that are owned and led by people that are getting a little bit to the point where they need to really consider what are they going to do next and who's going to take over.
Right. Yeah, 'cause, and to add to that, right? So, many of these folks don't have a succession plan, right? And so, they may have an older business. We've heard a lot of the buzzwords about the boring business. And so you may have a plumbing company or electrical company that their children may not want. And so, in many cases, I've understood these to be, they just shut them down. They don't even go through the process of selling. And so not realizing all that goodwill, all the intellectual property, everything that was built up over a 20 plus year period, just sometimes just gets shut down and pushed aside, where that could be a great opportunity for them to create some sort of generational wealth for their family and beyond. And so with that, when you talk about Lowenberg and what you actively do to work with some of these business owners, and fill us in a little bit more about the specifics on what you're doing, and maybe even some of the nuggets of, things for them to look out for, because this is a space that many folks aren't aware of. They may have heard a few things, but there's a lot of pitfalls in the acquisition game. And so, wouldn't you mind if you wouldn't share just a little bit of the specifics that you do, how you help them, and then some of the things that you should be looking out for as they prepare for some sort of exit?
Yes. Okay, great. And I want to start with a statistic referring to what you were just talking about the next generation not wanting their parents' business and them folding.
Yes.
And what really motivates me every day is the statistic that only 30%, and this is an optimistic number, 30% of businesses marketed for sale actually end up selling. And,
Mm,
and this has been true over many, many years of surveys of businesses that have been marketed. And so that other 70%, and it's up to 80%, so sometimes the numbers are as low as 20% of businesses sell, they fold, Markel. And like you said, it's a preventable problem in many cases. So not all businesses are salvageable, and maybe they shouldn't be, but
sure.
so many are. Someone has put their life into it, and it breaks my heart to hear about a business folding because the owner had no options. And
Mm,
they don't have options because they haven't prepared and they haven't set it up to be successful for the next phase, for the transition. And so it's not a transaction when you sell or transfer to your kids or your business partner or sell to your employees. It's a transition. And too many bankers and I hate to say it, but lawyers, they're focused on just a small part and they're using this phrase exit planning and exit
mhm,
strategy, which is why I don't use that phrase very much anymore because it's misunderstood and it's misused. And so people are saying they do exit strategy, really they just want to sell someone's company. And it's like, okay, let's get it on the market and they're paid on a percent of that and let's just move on to the next one. And oftentimes this can be deeply discounted when a potential buyer starts finding problems with the company.
mhm.
So think about you're in the real estate world. People don't do very well if they just go put something for sale, no matter what it is.
All right.
And I got introduced. I did an interesting panel presentation this summer to one of my groups that I'm involved with, and we were introduced by a wealth manager. Me and my presenter, which is a friendly competitor of mine here in Houston. We do the
Mm,
same kind of work. And the person that introduced us said, "I live in West University Village, which is a nice neighborhood in Houston." And he said, "The house to the right and to the left of me have both been put on the market." He said, "The house to my left has been preparing for about 3 years, upgrading everything, new kitchen, new floors, new this, new that. And the house to my right just put out a sign one day." And he said, "The house to my left sold right away, higher than asking price. And the house to my right is just sitting there and there's nobody interested in it." And he said, "It's the same philosophy with businesses. You have to prepare. And that 3 year time frame is a good minimum. It's a
mm,
good time frame to really prepare, Markel, because it takes a year to sell a business, first of all. So once you're ready to go on the market, you need a year of due diligence and finding the right buyer and hopefully having an auction kind of, more than one interested buyer. How do you get to having more than one interested buyer and selling to the right person for the price you need, at the timing that you want? And that is planning and preparation. So that's what I love to do is help the business owner find the problems in their business that a buyer would discount for. And how do we start plugging those holes? And so I would help identify three priorities at a time, maybe two. Let's
mhm,
work on fixing those, the highest priorities, the biggest issues, fix those and move on to a couple more, and then start talking about the personal aspects. What do they care about? What kind of legacy do they want to leave? Who do they want to take care of? It's usually their family and their employees. They care deeply about that.
mm.
I love exploring all the values of the business owner, what they care about, and how to help them reach all of those goals because it's not just about the money.
That's right. That's right. You kind of covered this a little bit, but I wanted to make sure that if you could provide a distinct difference between what you're doing on the consulting end and then what, what a broker does. Because I think everyone's heard of the broker, right? And you kind of touched on that, very similar to real estate. And many times we know that that's very transactional focused. But would you mind explaining, or could you explain it just to give them a little bit of sense of the difference in terms of, because you're not acting as a broker, correct?
Gladly, I'd love to illuminate this point because it's so important. So a business broker would work with smaller businesses. I don't know what the limit, maybe five, maybe $10 million in revenue. An investment banker would do a similar service for the mid-size and larger businesses that want to sell, that are privately held. And they are focused on that transaction. So they are interested in marketing the company. So what are the highlights of this company that are going to make it sellable? And then they would contact potential buyers and set up a deal structure and get the company sold, and they would get paid a percent of that transaction.
Okay.
So that is not what we do. We do none of those things. In an exit strategy world, we would work with the business owner before it's marketed for sale and just get it in the best shape it can possibly be. And that includes making it less reliant on the owner. So the more reliant on the owner that the company is, the less sellable it is. That's just one glaring example. So it's about, is the management team really ready to step up and take over? Are they motivated? Are they given proper incentives to stay? Are they given proper incentives to increase the value of the deal when it happens?
Mm.
And it's so interesting to me that a lot of times key employees are given an incentive, a bonus upon sale, which means they're paying their best employees to leave and destroy a large part of the value of the company. So we have to think through all of those aspects. What makes the business value transferable to the next owner?
Oh, that's great. That's great insight. When you think about the process, you mentioned getting in early, right before the properties or the business is listed for sale.
Yes.
So in essence, are you basically acting as the quarterback for this when it comes to working with, not only because again, it's the preparation piece, but now it's maybe a broker's coming in, maybe the lawyer, an accountant, or folks that may be in your circle. Do you sort of help quarterback that, or even just coordinate with their existing service providers that are all the interested parties that would be involved in the sale of a business? Is that a role that you play?
That's an excellent point. And I don't understand football very well, but the quarterback is an apt description because I've heard other people say it that are smarter than me about this. So yes, the answer is yes. It takes a team, and the better the advisor team that a business owner has, the better their life is going to be throughout the process and after. And so we would work very closely with the legal advisors that this company has, the bankers, the CPAs, the
Mm,
wealth advisors, the insurance people. Everybody has a key role, but they often know just their niche. They know their part of their discipline, and a person with the exit strategy perspective can see how all of those roles would play together in the best interest of the business owner, and most importantly, that business owner's unique set of goals, tying it back to the values, tying it back to what they really want to achieve and what they really care about, and not just some narrow focus on one little part. For example, it's not just a will, it's not just an estate, it's not just a buy-sell agreement.
mhm.
They would all be important, but they're not going to individually fulfill the needs of the business owner.
That makes sense. I like that. That's good. Um, you know, do you have any, when you think about the future, and I know this is where you're focused now, and when you mentioned the not necessarily looking to run the business day to day because there's other problems, things that you solve. This is why you moved over into the consulting end. Um, from an investment perspective, when you look at wealth creation, there's our the wealth building project is our the focus of our podcast. Are there other opportunities that you look for in terms of creating wealth outside of just, consulting and working with business owners?
Are you asking me personally, what else do I do about creating wealth?
Yeah, so are those things of interest? Because I know before the consulting end, obviously that's our pursuit in working in the M&A space was creating wealth for ourselves in that direction. Are there other things that you look to, whether it just be as an investor, is it, venture capital, could be private equity, anything that allows you to look at building wealth, for yourself?
Yeah, so from a monetary perspective, I do trade a stock portfolio. I enjoy that. I like looking at what the public companies are doing and following the leadership of public companies and seeing if they're still good companies to
Yeah.
invest in. But more to I think the nuances of the wealth building project and what you're intending here, you and John, is that wealth has many meanings. And to me, wealth is freedom to do what I want, to be who I want, to not be
Mm,
tied to anything in particular, to create each day in the way that I see fit, but most importantly, it's health.
yeah.
So health is of primary importance to me. So I love to exercise. I love to be outdoors with my dog. I love to spend quality time with my daughter and my friends. And those are the things that make life worthwhile
Yeah.
to me. So
No,
it's,
I love that. Yeah,
yeah,
one of the things that we talked about, and as I mentioned before, we're at the Wealth Building Project, and the focus that we have, we call it our core four. And with our core four, we look at, our body, which to me is how we take care of ourselves mentally and physically. It's our being, it's a sort of spirituality, and within yourself, or looking at whatever, something greater than yourself, and being very thankful. Your balance, right? In terms you mentioned, your daughter, your family, and obviously your business, right? And so we can make all the money in the world, but if we lose touch and disregard and ignore those other aspects of our lives, then that we're not going to be happy. Like that doesn't create happiness in that regard. And so I'm really glad you said that, because again, for us, it's more than just making money. But the pursuit of all four and being in tune, I think gives you an opportunity to have a great life and to do the things that you want to accomplish. And I think, everyone's different, but you mentioned, to do what you want when you want. And I think, my one of my main reasons for focusing much more on podcasts and building community and doing coaching is to, be able to do this from anywhere, be able to go anywhere. I had my daughters, I was pretty young, and so all our vacations, all the things that we were doing were for them. We go to Disney World every year for them. And so, some of the travel that I want to do and the things now that they're older and they're young women, that having the right business or the right model, or the right entrepreneurial venture, this is what I shoot for. And so, to your point, to be able to do this from anywhere and have that not only financial freedom, but time freedom as well. And so,
yes, exactly. Right. And just as a side note, I go to Disneyland for me. It's my favorite place. I'm a little bit obsessed with it, so I take my daughter as a as a courtesy.
it's a courtesy. So I didn't go as a child, but my children, who are now 23 and 19 now, soon to be 20. And so that's all we did. And every time I tried to go somewhere else, and I got outvoted all the time. And so I'm like, we'd be
Yeah.
in Florida, and I said, well, let's go to Cape Canaveral because I want to, I love the astronomy and the rockets and everything. And they're like, no, we're not doing that. And I said, wait a minute. So I actually had to go there by myself one day.
Oh,
Literally flew to Florida from where I'm originally from in Boston, and decided I was going to just take the trip out and see a launch. The shuttles were still launching at the time, and so we got a chance to see a launch, and so that was fun. But yeah, so I got tired of Disney World, so that was on me.
yeah.
You seems like you love to still go.
Yeah, I like the one in California, Disneyland. But that it just reminds me of it how to tie it all together is that I'm always conscious of modeling the kind of person that, being a role model to people around me and especially the younger generation.
Right.
And I'm very conscious of, yes, but life gets really busy. Yes, I have a lot of priorities. Yes, at the end of the day, I still kind of stress because I didn't finish everything on my list. But I want to project calm and peace and not just project it, but feel it that I'm doing something worthwhile. On the spirituality side, I do pray. I can say that, I'm sure. Pray that I'm
Mhm.
here to, fulfill some kind of good in the world, that I am thinking of somebody besides myself, that I am helping the world in some small way. And so by focusing on how I can be of service and focusing on how I can remain at peace in most moments of my life, especially when I'm around the younger generation, that's what I would like to leave behind
Yeah.
is yes, okay, I'm busy. Yes, I've got work. Yeah, things are pressing, but am I enjoying it? Or am I just so stressed out that I'm yelling at people? No, I won't let myself do that. And
Right.
that's why I would like every business owner to learn that. Yeah, okay, you have a big company. Yes, it's gotten really big. But what are you teaching your children and your grandchildren? Is it important to work that much? Or is it
Mm.
important to take some time every day to really enjoy life and these fleeting moments that we've got?
Oh yeah, I mean that's perfect. We talk about spirituality and praying. I started doing meditation recently. And I'm not any good at it, Nancy. I'm not good at it right now, but every day I actually get a little bit better and I realize how necessary it is, at least for me, because there's so much noise, there's so many distractions, there's so much going on. When take 10 minutes and do that in the morning, quietly, and my mind's racing, but I'm able to organize and start to really break things down and focus on what I need to do that specific day. It's been a game changer for me. And so, like I said, it's not really about religion or anything like that. It's just about and if that's somebody that's what they do, that's great. But it is just taking time and it's being, thankful and having those conversations, even if it's with just, your own voice in your head, but being quiet and I think that helps steer people in the direction that they ultimately want to go. Because we know that there's with all the distractions and social media and elections and all the noise, everyone wants your time and attention, right? We have to be able to take that time to focus. That's amazing. Well, I will tell you, as we land the plane, I would love if you could provide, if you're, for our audience, if they're a business owner and they're thinking, we need to start thinking about our next move, whether it's 5 years out, even if it's 10 years out, what can they do? Where can they go? Who can they reach? Where can we direct them to give them the information or potential consultation on a strategy for them to take that next step in their lives?
The first step we recommend everybody is to get a business valuation. It doesn't have to be an expensive certified one, but it should be a trusted third party business valuation. And then talk to your financial advisor to see if and understand what amount would you net after taxes. So remember, a sale price is not the same as the amount you would keep without proper planning. Okay,
Yeah.
there are tax optimization strategies that we need several years to implement.
Yes.
So what is your business worth today? What would you net after taxes? And does your financial advisor tell you that you can live on that for the rest of your life, you and your family?
Mm.
And usually that's a hard wake-up call. And if the answer is no, then get to work and call a trusted advisor. I do offer free consultations, and I even for qualified people after that, I offer 2 hour complimentary coaching session to work on some of the burning issues. Do you link people to a way to reach me, or do I need to spell it out
No,
over?
well, we can. So let us know where you are. Where can people reach you? But we'll definitely
Okay,
put all the links and everything at the
yeah.
bottom of when we release the show.
Yeah, because it's Nancy Mills, and my company that I am with is Lowenberg Consulting,
Okay.
and they can find me on LinkedIn as well. But I have two last names, so I'd rather you just link it in the show notes because
Yeah.
it's kind of tricky for people to spell. But
No,
I'm
that's
happy
perfect.
to. I offer free advice all day long. I love to do that, and then for qualified people that I can really make a difference in their company, I'm happy to work with them longer term.
No, that's amazing. Well, look, everybody, if you know someone, if you are that person that's looking at selling a company anytime in the near future, make sure you reach out to Nancy, connect with her on social media. We'll make sure we provide all her social media links and website below in the notes. And with that being said, Nancy, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for taking the time and for being a guest here. I know you do great work. I know you do it from your heart, and loving the opportunity to help folks to create that wealth and do it right because it's just not a lot of information out there. It's not a ton of, or there's probably maybe too much information and it's not really focused. And, you can really help them make a difference for them and their families moving forward. So thank
Excellent.
you for taking
Marco,
that time.
thank you very much for this opportunity. I'm so glad to speak with you.
Perfect. Everyone, Do not forget to hit the like and subscribe on our channel. Make sure you reach out to Nancy, and we will see you next time.